Welcome to the kitchen. Today we are making a simple sourdough loaf. Just the essentials, step by step. Let's get to it. Grab your mixing bowl and a scale. Measure out 100 grams of active starter. Next, you're going to want to grab 330 grams of warm water. Stir in and mix together your starter and water until the starter has almost completely infused with that water. Put your bowl back on the scale and measure out 10 grams of sea salt. Zero out your scale and then add in your final ingredient, which is 475 grams of bread flour. As you can see, I went over by a bit, so I'm using my fingers to pinch out the excess. Grab your spatula and gently mix in the bread and water until it has somewhat consistently come together. Now comes the messy part. Use your hands to pick up the dough and begin kneading it continuously for about 5 to 6 minutes. This can change depending on the consistency of the dough, so just make sure there are no clumps or globs in it. At this point, the dough will be extremely sticky and not want to release from your hands. Grab some paper towel to remove any of the excess before moving on to the next step. Cover your bowl with saran wrap and let rest for 30 minutes. After your 30 minutes have been up, it's time to do your first round of stretch and folds. Wet your hand in some warm water before grabbing onto one edge of the dough. Gently pull the dough up and fold it over onto itself. I like to give it a little bit of a wiggle as I'm pulling up so that it releases slightly from the bottom of the bowl. After every fold, I rotate the bowl a quarter of a turn. This ensures that all of the dough is properly incorporated into these stretch and folds. After 4 folds, cover it back up and let it rest for another 30 minutes. Repeat this process at least 2 more times to help the sourdough build crucial dough strength, increase elasticity, and organize the gluten network. This allows high hydration doughs to hold their shape and rise vertically rather than spreading out. Remember that in between each stretch and fold, you're allowing the dough to rest covered for another 30 minutes. At this point, you can see I've sped up the video because it's just doing the same thing over and over 3 separate times. Once you've finished all 3 stretch and folds, it's time to cover it up, set it aside, and watch it until it has doubled in size. Now that it's doubled in size, it is time to remove it from its bowl and gently scrape it onto a lightly floured work surface. You can see here I'm being careful to get all of it in one giant piece. Grab the top side and pull it down about a third. Do the same with the bottom, folding over the top. Next, you'll do the same with the sides, folding 1/3 over and then the other across itself. Pinch and fold over the seams, work your way all the way across so that no seam is left untucked. Gently roll it into one of your hands and use your free hand to scrape clean your work surface. Place it back down and gently tuck in all of the ends and slowly roll in all the seams so that it's one cohesive ball. Carefully move it around with your fingers, gently pushing the underside underneath it as you pull around. This will help push that seam to the center and prevent any ripping or tearing. Grab your banneton and lightly flour the inside. Using your bench scraper, gently flip over the dough into your hand, careful not to pinch anything or squeeze any of the air out. Flip the dough so it's seam side down in your other hand and gently flip it into your banneton so the seam side is facing up. Completely cover it in saran wrap and place it into your fridge overnight. The next morning, about an hour before you're ready to bake, grab your Dutch oven and place it into your oven, which is set to 500 degrees. Grab some parchment paper and cut it into equal rectangles, which you will use to lift the dough and place it into your Dutch oven. Now it is time to pull your dough from the fridge and unwrap it. Place the parchment paper over the top in the shape of an X. Grab a tray or a cookie sheet and place it over the top of your X and gently flip it over so that the banneton is now on top. Pull off your banneton and grab your lamb. Carefully use your lamb to make an incision about 1/4 inch deep along the upward side of your dough. Gently go back over your incision, making sure you got deep enough but also not go too deep. After you've made your pressure relief, you can now go back and add some decorative touches to it. Make sure these decorative cuts aren't as deep as your first one. Once your Dutch oven has been preheating for about an hour, it is time to take it out and insert your dough. Very carefully pick up your parchment paper and place it directly into your Dutch oven. Cover it back up, and now you're ready to place it in the oven. Let it bake for 20 minutes before taking it back out. After 20 minutes, bring out your Dutch oven, take the cover off, and then place it back in for another 15 minutes. At this point, you should see a nice rise, and the rest of the time in the oven should really brown and crisp it up. As you can see here, I was not just making one loaf, I was trying out 3 different varieties. While a Dutch oven does work well, you can definitely use any sort of bread pan or no pan at all. After the 15-minute timer, I like to pull out the bread and check it with an instant read thermometer to see if it has reached at least 202 degrees. Very carefully pull it out of the Dutch oven and let it rest for at least 1 hour before slicing in. Personally, I like to let it rest for at least 2 hours just so that it has time to cool, and also the flavor seems to be much more potent as time goes on. If mine can turn out like this, yours definitely can. Thanks for hanging out.